What is up, everyone? Oh, that went for a while. Rocco loving his new his Christmas PJs. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Go Birds, Saquon. Yet again, you're gonna have a couple of references, I'm sure, in this video. It is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Same old song, new all-time highs yet again in the marketplace today. Good to be back. It's been a little bit. Friday we had a little short session. New all-time highs in the market here. The leader today was Taiwan and Semiconductors. I don't know if you saw the moves, but supermicrocomputer up about 30% due to an internal investigation that said that they didn't do anything wrong, and they had Taiwan Semi up 5%, pulling the whole country up. TSM is a major constituent allocation in the country, and Japan had a big move higher, and utilities dropped. Interesting move today with rates down slightly. And new all-time highs. I got to take a deep breath for this. For the S&P 500 through SPY, the Qs, XLC, Meta had a big day, XLY, Tesla had a big day. I believe it was them or Amazon. Brazil, new 52-week low for that guy. So that was interesting. And then Mag 7, new all-time highs, as well as my baby XLG, or otherwise known as the top 50. So a lot of winners there. Let me pull up the doc, and I will show you a little bit more here. Hold on. Un momento, por favor. Okay. So let me share my screen. And if you have those turkey leftovers, today's the last day. The Department of Agriculture says today's the last day. You got to toss. I can't eat it anyway. My kid's still trying to eat a gingerbread house we messed around with, and I don't want to eat it. The gumdrops are very difficult, very hard. So here we go. You can see this raging a bull here. Sounds about right. And there you go. Taiwan Semiconductors up 2.25%. Pretty large move. And Japan lead markets higher while utilities drop 2% and new all-time highs, as I said, for SPY, Qs, XLC, XLY, MAGs, and XLJ. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the charts. Since it's been a minute, and I always, I had been saying to expect a distribution phase, ending on around December 5th. Boy, well, we are cranking higher and higher and going through all-time highs. As I said, here were the moves. 28% higher for super micro. Pretty interesting move. Pat Gelsinger, I don't really get into single stock news here, but he announced he was retiring, or he retired yesterday. Stock was up 5% pre-market. Actually ended up closing 0.5. So Intel just trash, not being able to, capitalize on the whole AI boom like the other firms, but not doing too well there. And then NVIDIA actually was the one that didn't do a ton. It was up 0.25%. AMD was the other one they flocked into, up 3.5%. And of course, the aforementioned Taiwan Semi. All right. As I said before, it was Tesla up 3.5%. Apple also important. That's up paltry 1%. That was a new all-time high. That's a big deal. It's the largest constituency in the markets. When it has to go to all-time highs, you don't want to fight this tape. So here's the intraday chart. Light volume day, about 30 million shares in SPY, pretty much to be expected. People still, I guess, wiping off cranberry sauce off their plates. Here was the pre-market, strong all day. We really got our legs underneath us around 11 a.m. You can see we got some slope here, and we held VWAP no problem throughout the day. 2 o'clock, a little bit of a touch below. The new all-time highs, higher set was done at 3 o'clock. We got all the way to 604 in SPY. Absolutely incredible. And then a bit of a sell-off at 3:30 that took us. Look at that bottom wick here in the candle, if you can see it. Right there. Got us right to VWAP. And then we closed above it. So VWAP at the end of the day was 603 half. We ended up closing 604 even. Market is super strong. So going back to what I've been saying, so I'd rather be long than short. Of course, I've been saying you got to be long this market, get in where you can. I remember I was talking to a colleague last week. I said, these dips get bought. Your best chance was to get I referenced to her 587. And it's funny because you had that chance pretty much through the 15th to the 20th. You had it. Even on the 21st, the low was 587, and now where you're at 604. So you get a couple chances, and they buy those dips very quickly. As I said, my the chart, due to what I said before about 15-day on and off periods for the market, it's interesting because SPY I had expected to be kind of in distribution mode through this Friday, but around the 25th, 26th, this was not an expected surge for me. This move here, this jump to 600. That was a big move on the 25th, so I kind of have to rework the count. All that being said, I like, of course, rather be a buyer than seller, but my top for this is right around 606 to 610 in the next week or so. Again, if you've been reading, my Business Insider and any of the articles I've been posting, my target for Thanksgiving was, I believe, 6,000 or 600 S&P or SPY, and then 610 for New Year's Eve. Could probably maybe elevate that a little bit, but I still see any pullbacks in the next 2 weeks or so bringing us to about 590 to 593. If you're wise, you gobble that up. If things get really scary and people say this is the end, you're going to get to 575, 580. And again, those levels just discovered for the first time October 14th. So if you think that's it, all is ending in the market, look at this slope, okay? This is you trying to tackle Saquon Barkley after a breakaway. Don't look foolish. Saquon Barkley's job is to make people look foolish. And shout out Cooper DeJean, who absolutely just went low on Derrick Henry. It's impossible to do that. So this is this market that you don't want to stand in front of, okay? You do not want to stand in front of it. So be better buyer than seller. If you have to get long in the next 2 weeks or so, I do think there's about 1% upside better in the Qs. Here, I'm kind of fully valued at this point for SPY at 604 close, essentially. I don't really love risk reward. If I see pullbacks going down to 593, it's 10 points down and about 2 points up. Don't love that. The Qs, I have better risk reward. I think you have about 1% upside, and you saw that today with the Qs going up 1%. So I like Qs for the next 2 weeks or so if you had to get into something. And we'll look at some important charts that will go into this much, much more. Alrighty, so let's get into it with the big movers today that we were talking about. All ETF based, of course, but don't forget they always, represent what's under the hood. So we'll start with this one, EWT. When you have the largest constituent, Taiwan Semi up 5%, you're going to get this bad boy to be up 2%. So as you look at this chart here, the 52-week high was made back here on 7/11. If you recall, this is when tech here in the homeland peaked. Okay, so semis and all that was going back to this. So very, very strongly correlated. Taiwan, obviously, with tech and semiconductors, as TSM is the largest holding in the country. Like this chart, all it did was get to the 21-day exponential moving average after really not doing a ton. This chart looks superb as well in that you have a rising 200-day moving average, nice slope. The proximity, of Taiwan in business sense and even through distance made this a really scary hole during the Japan crash, right? Japan, Taiwan, and everything that had to do with the yen trade and different currencies that are involved here. But really, this chart's been really looking pretty good, I would say. I like when it gets a little bit of lift in the 200-day. So I would say since mid-May, I would say for the past 7 months, a pretty decent chart. I like this one. I think this is headed to about $56 to $57 in the next 2 weeks. I think you're going to get to this upper band here, upper Bollinger Band, but I don't think it takes out the new 52-week highs, or the 52-week highs from July, which is 57.69. I think that holds, but I do think you have a nice, potential $2. It's already had a nice move today, 2%. Don't forget, this thing was at 52.5 just the other day on November 29th. So this is, expect it maybe to move a little bit sideways around this 54.30 level, and then I do think it'll head towards about $57 in the next 2 to 3 weeks. All right. Also, I'm pretty bullish for the next 2 to 3 weeks. You don't want to get, as I said, I was showing the slope on these charts. You don't want to get in the mood in the way of the Santa Claus rally. I think the stat was like 8 out of the last 10 years, the past 10 Decembers, they've been up, at least 2%. So just don't get your face ripped off. You can sound smart being bearish, but you make more money if you're just long with the trend. All right, next, very important chart, very correlated with this one in a sense. Semiconductors, I just said the peak for Taiwan, the nation, was 7/11. Look at this. You peaked in semiconductors when? 7/11. Chart here, you could see us a nice looking candle of 2.3%. A lot of this was, as I said, TSM, Taiwan Semi. So I like this area. As I said, I like the Qs for the next 2 weeks. I like this one. All it did again was get to the 21-day exponential moving average of about 246. It got above that by a hair or so today. I think this heads to 261. I do think you get a little bit of vol expansion, and you get to here. What's scaring people here in terms of semis is if this is as good as it gets, you're not taking out those new those all-time highs struck back here in July. I don't think it does, at least not this go around in the next 2 weeks or so. You're gonna have exuberance. You saw what happened with Nvidia earnings. It didn't, wasn't the catalyst for that. AI spend is still massive capital expenditure from governments and obviously corporations. And all that being said, we're still range bound. Then again, never hold down a superstar. You had Bitcoin do nothing essentially for 8 months, and then it ripped to new all-time highs. I believe the same thing is happening with semis. It just possibly takes longer. Could it go into January, Feb? Who knows? But you want to stay long this group. It is one of the leaders in the market with Bitcoin and with banks. So again, like this one, congrats. Again, you don't get many chances. If you bought this on the 27th, I want to congratulate you, because under the 200-day moving average, it would be really hubris, and I'd say stupidity, to think the semiconductors complex space peaked in July and that was it. Like, don't be dumb. That's almost like saying Saquon's not going to get 200 yards on Sunday. But yeah, the reason why is because you had this opportunity here under 238, and the low that day on the 27th was 234. So props to you. If you were quick, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, that'd be great, because then you caught that. It's always hard to get the lows. More realistically, say you got in at the 200 moving average, 238, you had this $10 rip to today at 248. I'd like it to 260 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that's another $12 or so, about 4 or 5%, a nice move, which corroborates with my favor for the Qs over the next 2 weeks. All right, so semis, a nice day, up 2.3% today. Now let's go to Japan. I am long Japan through December calls. This was a nice move today for it. So really a bit of an emerging market or international markets move today, depending on the spaces. I like this. I'd rather be better buyer than seller in EWJ, but I don't like when we close above this upper Bollinger. I do like that it's now above the 200 moving average. Japan has been not a great place since October 21st. It's really, outside of these 4 sessions, it's been under the 200-day moving average the entire time. So my calls are not, working wonders right now, believe me. So, but this is nice to see. I'm in the at the money calls. I believe, it's a 70 strike. My target for this is 70, 70 half for the next, 2 weeks. So I'm expecting a little bit more back and fill, potentially a drop towards that 200-day at 69. I don't think the battle is quite over yet. I would like to see it hold, not go below the 69.13, which is the 200-day moving average, and then go from here, maybe something like that. But I don't think it's getting to that 52-week highs of $73 when we had this massive exuberance at the end of September. I'm long, and I don't expect that. So, I think 70 half is pretty much, this was a nice move here. I don't expect much more. To the downside, there was really utilities was the one that got rocked. Utilities, I'm long this one as well. Still profitable position though, because it's had a nice move. And like I said, when I'm the 15 days on or so, 15 or so days off, sometimes the give back can happen across those 15 days. Sometimes it could do it in 2 bars. This was a massive bar, down 2% for utilities. As you can see, it goes from highs of 83.40 all the way to 81. Utilities typically don't move like that. Going forward, I had said before, better buyer than seller. My target, full value target, was $83. Okay, on November 27th, we got to 83.40. I believe pullbacks bring you to 81. That is what happened. I'm still staying with that for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I think we might have a little bit of chop. 81. It goes to 82. Or maybe it flirts with 83. I don't think so. And then back to about 81. That's my valuation. 81 is the 21-day exponential moving average. Okay, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. No repeating charts. And this is interesting because we have a half session on Friday, and then, light volume on Wednesday. So I'm taking today's session, 1, and then Friday counts as a full 1, and then last week. So 3, 4, 5. So this is basically, kind of a nice full week recap. Did I do that right? Last week was 3.5, and then today 1. Yeah, I think I did that right. So the best gainer, believe it or not, ARKG up 12%. The best trade in the market since, in the past 5 sessions. So let's take a look at this chart. Interesting. Always shouts out at me when I see the 200-day moving average in play with the current closing price. So this is tough. I'd rather be, I know I sound like a broken record, better buyer than seller. I don't want to be short this. My target for this is 27, and this is a nice looking candle. I think it has a little bit more up to go. If you remember, this is when the Kennedy RFK, health security or health Secretary news finally capitulated, and ARKG hit a low of $22. This thing has been an absolute monster, 22 to 26 in just a handful of days, 2 weeks. So monster move. My target is 27. I think it has a little bit more to go, and then after that, I do think pullbacks bring it to about 25. So I still think it'll be contending with this 200-day moving average, but a monster rip due to positioning, a lot of factors. This has not been a great position, arguably since I would say St. Patrick's Day back in March. This has not been doing anything special. I do want to mention on a side note, ARKG hit a new 52-week high today. That fund has been on fire. Props to you, Kathy Wood. All right. TAN is the next largest gainer. So you have ARKG up 12% in the past week, and then TAN up 8.5%. My boy JC Peretz is really bullish on this one. I think it's for a trade, but he is in. I've called this like the best short back as of a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the 52-week low is fresh off of November 20th. He thinks kind of one of the so bad it's good type charts. So my stance on this here, where I stand on the 200-day moving average here. I'd want to short it. This was kind of like the Harris trade due to Democrat subsidies and the EV credits they're going to get. That's why you had Tesla start to go lower. Then Musk being butt buddies with Trump push his fortunes up, and that's why like the EV space and the Stellantis, Volkswagen, so they're not competitive. A lot of the car space is having significant issues. So, anyways, this specifically solar, that's Solar Edge, Enphase. A lot of these firms are not having a great time. Short term, I think I babbled enough about this. I think this gets towards, I'm looking at the candle today, up 1.7% today. I think this potentially you need kind of like a junk rally, in my opinion. I think this heads towards 39.5, 40. I do not think you get a pretty tag of the 200-day moving average. I don't think that even happens. I think it gets max like right about here. I don't even think it overtakes that election day high. This was the exuberance actually when Harris had some chances. Here it got all the way to 42 on election night, and then the next day after the results came in, it dropped all the way to 36, and then 2 weeks later, new 52-week lows in the space. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. I would love if it got a tag of 41.5. I would immediately sell it. Just a little update. I did that on Nat Gas. It's been working beautifully. Nat Gas down again today. Sometimes when it works, it works. This is like moving, when 200-day moving average, again, like I said, this is like moving a battleship, okay? It takes a lot of work, effort. If you see something, tug of war type battles every single day for 2-week sessions, you don't want to really get involved just yet. So this looks still weak to me. I get why, like JC would be doing. There are gains from this. And again, it went from 33 to 37. And as I said, I think this gets to like 39.5. So a little bit more, and then pullbacks would take it down to about 36. All right. Enough on that piece of junk, although it's had a great week, the second best after ARKG. So this stuff is kind of, ARKG, not a great stock. Positioning, right? Up 12%, kind of a monster performance there in the past week. Even if it is a low volume Thanksgiving Day week, we're all-time highs here in the Spizzle. That's S&P for you home gamers. I really am turning into Jim Cramer. I should be wearing my Eagles jersey soon, just like he does. And then, so TAN was up 8.5%. And then the third one, so TAN we've already established is not a superstar stock. Obviously, if you hit a 52-week low within the past month, my opinion is you're trash. You're like the anti-safe one. So kind of like the New York Giants football team. Fire and daggers today. Okay, and then the third best winner, it's way back. It's KWEB. So this hasn't been, this is the best of the three I've just mentioned, ARKG, TAN, and KWEB. Today, or not today, in the past 5 days, up 4%. Today, up 1.1. FXI has a little bit less gains. The alpha has been in this group. I like it. All it's done is got to the 21-day exponential moving average. I like it. This bodes well for my FXI Jan positions. I think this is headed towards 33.5. I think you get, even without volatility expansion, I think you get right to here. And that's still inside the 1 month high. It's not amazing momentum, but I do think you do have another $2.50 of gains in this. So that would be, where is this at? Pretty, that's a great move of 8%. So that would bode very, very well, actually. If you split the difference, I would say probably FXI is going to be up. I would expect, if this is calculations correct, probably up around like 3-4%. So that'd be really, really nice. So Chinese internet looks nice. Really strong support. Again, not to go in on this too much, but who is calling? Again, the stimulus was announced here. Those lows, or that price has held. So it's pretty important. It's kind of like Bitcoin. The train has left the station. I don't think we're going to revisit, below 70K, on the most brutal sell-off. China, even after the highs were, this is specifically through Chinese internet, after the week of stimulus was announced, October 7th, we're still holding that price from that announcement. So that to me is bullish. You have a rising 200-day moving average. Your support in KWEB ultimately lies right there at 28.60. A nice move up from 30 to 31. Again, I think this is headed towards $33 in the next 2 weeks or so. So that's good for moi. All right, top 3 losers of the past 5 days. Maybe this is surprising. Maybe this is not. Brazil, what a dog, down 8% in the past week to a new 52-week low. Not many places you can say that in the market right now. Hitting a 52-week low today when we have all-time highs in Qs, SPY, obviously a lot of tech. In Brazil, not a lot of tech. I have energy and different commodity resources really is their game. I thought this was going to base. We had featured this, I think, last week. I thought this was going to base and hold right around 26. And due to the ugliness of this bar here on the 27th, here's where my cursor is 26. You got the vol expansion. You can see this blue dip. And again, during the Nikkei crash, when people said avoid garbage and let's get out of weak things, the low there was 26.23. We flushed right through that on the 29th. Hit 25.07, and today basically the same thing, 25.08. Ugly looking candle down 1.1%. I think this gets to 27 even on some kind of a garbage rally. It might take time. I would say this might take, because of just how weak it is, maybe 2 to 3 weeks just to get to that point of 27, and then potentially you sell it. And maybe if things get so bad, kind of like the China rotation, I wouldn't say Brazil's uninvestable, but there has been no reason to get in this nation as of March. There was a big rotation, as I said, in terms of emerging markets, and obviously it was a lot to do with what the Fed here was going to do and the strength of the dollar. But nations like this, no reason to hold this since March. No reason. All righty. Okay, other losers. So Brazil's the biggest loser in the past week, down 8%. Right behind it, VXX. The volatility index. This lets me know that there's still animal spirits. Volatility is coming in. Less fear. This is down 7.5% in the past 5 days, and down 0.2% today. We had been talking about, when is the new 52-week low going to come in VXX? We have new all-time highs in SPY. This is calculated off of, loosely put SPY puts, at the money and different SKUs. Why are we not, out taking this July 12th 52-week low adjusted at $40? Couple of reasons. It's still, we're all-time high, so people do still pay for insurance. And again, this has to do with the short-term futures. If you actually look at the midterm futures, I think the ticker is VXN. That had a 52-week low today, and that is foreshadowing. It just takes some time. You can see the lower lows here. It's very small loser today. But I think this goes towards 41 over the next week or two. And then, if you get a scare, the best it can do, I think, is it gets to 46.5. This 200-day moving average of 50, I don't think that's going to happen. You're going to need something, some kind of calamity. So that's how we're looking at the VIX here. So I think another point of downside. And if, you do get that move of, SPY for some reason gets under 600, psychological number that is broken. We're back in the 590s. This probably gets only to about 46. Mark my words. All right. And then lastly, the superstar that we're talking about ad nauseum was Bitcoin. Of course, BITO is the third biggest loser right behind here. So it's Brazil down 8%, VXX or volatility down 7.5%, and then BITO down 7% in the past 5 days. It's down 1.7 today. So charting this out, there has been a rotation too as well into Ethereum. Ethereum, one of the biggest winners in the past week. I think it was up, I'm not sure, 6-7%. I don't cover it because of just the duration, how long those ETFs have been trading. I will cover it soon, but not yet. So there has been a rotation. I'd actually been mentioning to a friend, I think that's good for Bitcoin. Ethereum, I wanted to see it break its highs. I like seeing it at 3,600. If it gets to 4,000, you're seeing this thing go to 100, Bitcoin itself, rather. So for Bitcoin, I think it's still going to just mean revert a little bit. I think this heads towards 20. Where's the 200-day moving average here? So you can see it's 23.69. Yeah, right around there. It's interesting. The 21-day exponential moving average in BITO and the 200-day moving average is both this number, 23.69, strong support. I think we potentially head there. It's another $1 from here lower. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then we get to new high. So I would be just a little bit careful of Bitcoin, not a ton of downside, but I would say for specifically the BITO ETF, about $1 lower in the next week or two. And I think it probably turns up. Let me see something here. Yes, that'd be a 4% move, which would be, Bitcoin right now is trading 95.5. So that would take us to, oh man, I'm tired. That would take us to right about 91K. So again, as I said, I think train has left the station on Bitcoin. All right, so top 3 absolute trades of the past 5 days. If you're long ARKG, you got 12% in your pocket. Congrats. I'm long a biotech firm, and that's been doing decently. Second one, long TAN. Seems like a trade to me, but if you were in it, congrats. Fast fingers to the pulse on the trigger and whatnot. Up 8.5%. I'm not long or short TAN, no association. And the next trade is a short, and that's short Brazil through EWZ, 8% in your pocket. All right, that is it for today. So any tickers in the chat? No. We will have our next video. Oh, I will be in New York City on Wednesday, so not then. I'll try and see if I can do one tomorrow and or Thursday. Peace.